Good evening. Very much evening. One sec, let me just make sure I'm not killing my stream here. It'll stop lagging in a second. It'll be clean in a sec. I just had to get rid of something that I found a process that kills my stream. See, it's all fine now. I found a thing that kills the uploads on my laptop, and now it's fine. So I just had to remember to kill that process before I start streaming because it was it does that lag thing. I know it's late. I know it's late. It's not all about you. It's only 4:30 for me. It's not all about you. There's some of us here in the US, in Canada, my good Canadian friends. But if it's late, pop the thing on, stick it in one of those little holders, lay down. Good night. It's a little bit of a yap session, a little bit of a yap session. I did want to talk about a couple of things. Number one, just to address that very, very quickly on Jadon Sancho and that whole kind of story, is I think people are misunderstanding maybe a bit, partly potentially my fault, misunderstanding a bit what I said about that, because I used the word agreed in my video, which means different things, obviously, and probably shouldn't use the word agreed when I don't mean it in that sense. What I'm getting at on the Sancho thing is that, as far as I know, Juventus are well aware of the conditions of the deal from a perspective of what United would take, the lowest United would take, what Sancho would take, the lowest Sancho would take. They have it all on the table. They know what it is. Whether or not they're going to do it, they haven't decided. He did not say they're not buying him. He didn't say they're not considering him. He said they have not placed an official bid, which is completely correct. They absolutely have not placed an official bid. Remember, I described on Mbuma what an official bid is. I've described it a few times this summer, what an actual bid is. They've not put any bid in. They've not put any bid in at all. They have contacted United in the last few weeks on a few occasions, and they have verbally discussed what they'd be willing to kind of offer for Sancho. And they have had multiple discussions with Jadon Sancho's people to know what he needs and what they would be willing to pay. But they have to decide now to do it. And they haven't decided to do it. That's a serious issue. If they decide to do it, then they have to put a bid in and say, hey, we're going to go for it and work it out. I'm not pretty sure like I said, I think they're not totally thrilled with it, unfortunately. I don't think they're totally thrilled with the terms here. And so they're looking at alternatives as well. That's why there was the Conceição stuff as well, right? Is they're looking to make an offer there to see if they can do better. You know what I mean? To do a better thing. So I'm a little it's weird because I think there's almost progress, but not progress at the same time on the Sancho thing. I think there's been progress in that they've further understood exactly what it would take, and they do like Sancho and they do want Sancho. But at the same time, at the costs that it would take to get him, they haven't decided whether to do it to a point of actually putting a bid in. I'm not sure. It seems like they're second guessing that aspect of it based on what's out there. They're second guessing how far to pursue it, but they have had many, many discussions on this. They're not negotiating because they've already inquired to United. They've already been asked. They've already asked about it. They already know what we would want on a fee. And people have reported, including Romano himself, that that's not the issue as well. I think Romano even did an article saying they'd offered us players and that the fee wasn't the issue, but they've offered us players and things like that too in the past. But it's been busy, but man, they need to decide whether they actually want to pursue this and get serious about it. Make a real offer to us, make a real bid to us, actually try to get the deal done. So yeah, I think there's not much more to talk about. That was the point I was getting. There's not much more to talk about. They know what they're going to have to do in terms of making an offer. They know what they're going to have to do to pay Sancho. Are they going to do it now? That's the question. And that's the answer we don't know, unfortunately. Why bother going as far with negotiations? Well, yeah, I would tend to agree. Maybe they have hoped that Sancho would lower his wages still. They've told him, obviously, they're not going to pay his wages. We know that. Like, they're not going to pay his full wages. There's going to have to be some kind of payoff included. He's going to have to accept a lower fee, a lower wage there. There's going to have to be a balance of that. It's just whether or not the level that he's willing to accept at Juventus works for them or not. Whether that's doable or not. So I don't know, man. It's just Juventus, you know what I mean? On that front, it's Juventus, but it's rough. Imagine United fan telling another club. Well, yeah, but it is ironic though, right? Because it's like, okay, Juventus, are you serious about Sancho or not? You know, it's like, Betis, are you serious about Antony or not? We're in this situation where we're also at the behest of other clubs being slow, funnily enough. Like, we are though. And it's kind of like this is the problem when you're sell to buy. When you need money, you're in trouble. Like, because then you're waiting, and clubs know they can like wait you out on this shit. On the sell aspect and things like that. Kudos done in less than 2 weeks. Well, like, I wish we could not be dramatic, because then all that happens is then I get like, then I expect to be overly positive, or I come across as overly positive when people are being dramatic. Tottenham tried to buy Mbeumo. Tottenham tried to convince Mbeumo. They're not on week 2. They lost out on Mbeumo, and then they just got their first signing agreed today. That makes them 6 weeks behind us because we already got Cunha. Like, let's be factual again. If we can be factual, then you won't be telling me that I'm being overly positive. Let's be factual. Tottenham just agreed their first signing of the summer. They're not ahead of us. And it was their backup option to their first choice person. They tried to get Mbeumo as their first signing. They failed there. Like, if we can do that, then we can talk about the real world. Lost out so swiftly, moved to another. It's July 9th. It's their first signing. That isn't that swift. It's not that much. It's not that much better than us. Now, it's not that's great. But just quit moving the goalposts around. Like, we're still ahead of those clubs. You do realize that. They also looked at Semenyo and failed. They also looked at, Tell was already an option. That's a January signing. They had him a deal agreed with an option back then. So we finished 15th. Spurs finished 17th. So, I mean, like I said, if we could talk about reality, then it makes it a little less obnoxious. I don't accept the drama of it. There can be we can need to speed up on Mbeumo. We 100% have to speed up on Mbeumo. The fact that it's not done is really frustrating. It is irritating. I wish it was done. It should be done. It should have been done last week. That doesn't mean we're behind, like we're slower than everybody else in England, because that's just not true, simply put. Spurs have a way better squad than us? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I completely disagree with that. They just finished 17th. They barely scammed a win in the Europa League just because our forwards was so bad. What happened to the minutia of the deal?
Calm down. Everything's okay.
I don't know, man.
BTW,
like, that's what I'm
happened
saying.
To the minutiae of the deal?
It is reading it out. Where I said, we're getting into the details. We're discussing add-ons. That was confirmed by practically everybody. base fee agreed. There, you had multiple like tier 1 reporters saying the base fee was agreed and we're discussing the add-ons that confirmed the information on that. And then this is why I say the goalposts have continued to move, and it's like a moving target. And that's a bit of how United feel on it. It's like, okay, well, we pretty much had it down to a deal, and then what? And then we didn't. And it has been moving. It has been moving. Yeah, Juventus are holding out to see exactly that. I don't think they like the terms that they know are there for Sancho. So they're looking for a better deal potentially with Conceição, unfortunately. So no, they weren't wrong. It's just the reality of the situation. Things have changed. Things have changed from the Brentford side of it, and have made it pretty difficult for us. It's still on us to get a deal done, but they are factually, from the perspective of United, shifting the goalposts on what needs to happen. The offer that we've made should have been close, should have been near done. They could have got Cunha. Part of convincing Cunha was the fact that we would get the deal done right off the bat and not mess around with it a bit. And Brentford are moving the goalpost, because you look at the briefs that they've been doing, and they're saying, well, actually, it's Elanga fee that's driving the price up. Actually, it's this that's driving the price up. Actually, it's João Pedro that's driving the price up. So they've been driving the price up. Then they've been driving the price up because they feel like they can. They've literally just done that. So yeah, I mean, maybe we could have got it done swifter. Maybe we could have got it done earlier or something like that. But yeah, I wish we had. I mean, should we have offered 60 million day one and it would have been accepted? Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe then Brentford would have been like, okay, we've got him on the hook, 60 million. We'll push him to 70 then easily, because that's their first offer. We don't know that. We don't really know what they're going to do. Either way, it's the job of the club to get it done. Are they driving the price up or want more cash up front, which we don't have? Either or, Simix. Like, it could be either, truthfully, yeah. I don't actually know on that. I have suspected that it has to do with the cash up front.
Ooh, calm down.
Because we don't really have that kind of money.
What the hell do Brentford want?
We don't have a ton
65?
of cash in the bank to pay right now. Like, that is a problem. They have been changing the price, and they've pretty publicly reported. I mean, they've been playing games the whole time. Right after we got into the negotiations, they briefed a fake Tottenham bid for 70 million that they're still apparently using as a reference point. Like, it was fake. The whole thing was fake. And by the way, I was the first person to say it was fake. Explicitly, that it was a fake bid. Okay? It was a fake bid. They've been playing games the whole time. They literally bullshitted a bid on from Spurs for, I don't know for 70 million. They've been bullshitting the whole time. They tried to use that to say, oh, we want 60. So, they've been messing around with this deal publicly, private. Then they go on Sky Sports. Why? Why does their director feel the need to go on to Sky Sports and say, well, we don't need to sell Mbumo, while they're sitting there saying that Norgard is close? You know what I mean? Like, why? They're pissed off that we've convinced Mbumo to want to only join us, and that they don't get their bidding war. And they're making a big stink about it. But that we have to. Mbumo wants to join us. That's what it is. So, look, it's still up to United. It's still up to United to get the deal done. At the end of the day, they've got to get it done. That's their job. That's their competency, is whether or not they get the deal done, right? But this is how people play United, because they feel like they can, because of the reputation that we have, all the bullshit that goes with it, It's just, but they've been playing games since day one on this, and that is pretty irritating in a sense. So, I think it is pretty necessary that Mbumo has to push something through here, to help us on this. I think it is pretty necessary. The whole Wissa to Spurs thing feels fake. Maybe it is, maybe it is. I don't know. On that, I don't know. I just don't know. Maybe it is fake. Maybe it's real. I that one I don't know. The Mbumo one was easy to find out about and confirm that it was essentially bullshit right off the bat. And this one, I can't say I've actually even asked about it, to be quite honest. So don't know. But sure, it was yeah. Meanwhile, Mbumo's, I guess, coming back later, than he was before. Brentford reporter says no talks for 2 weeks. Okay, it's fake. All right. So they inquired about it at some point, and then that's it. So yeah, it's like this is just more noise. It seems like being pushed to try to get us the highest price. Got to get them the highest price, and that's fine. That's fair enough. That's their prerogative, but they're definitely playing this game quite a bit. No doubt about it. And that's their right to do so, I suppose. But it certainly makes it difficult. Remember, we were intending to go into it with we were intending to go into this with like anyway. That is what it is. I still think we'll get it done, and I think all of that. But I do think it's on. I'm not as positive on it as I was before, because I do think it's like I said, if it wasn't done last week, I would start to get a little more worried day by day. I'm a little more worried day by day. I am a little more worried day by day. Like, I think it's a bit on the balance now, because I think it is actually difficult for us to get this deal done, especially in that we haven't had a bunch of money come in, especially if they keep raising the fee from what we expect it to be, especially if the terms of, how much cash up front, things like that is changing, then it does get more difficult, and it's also about what comes next, right? Because we start this and they say, oh, well, the Cunha fee is going to measure. So what if we do pay 70 million now for Mbumo? And then we go make some sales. We go to Villa for Ollie Watkins. What are they going to ask for? Is that going to affect that price? And then we go to Villa, and it's like, yep, we want 65 million. And then we go to, I don't know, who else would we buy? The goalkeeper thing's probably not a big deal. We go to some other club and they're like, oh, you paid 60 million for Watkins? Well, 80 million. And this is how it spirals, because an extra 5 million becomes an extra 5 at one deal, an extra 10 at another, an extra 15 at another, and you end up spending 30, 40 million more than you wanted to, than you should have, all things considered, and it spirals out of control. So I don't envy them on this, no doubt about that. I don't envy them on this, because it's going to affect whatever we do next as well when clubs try to play us like this. And they really do only do it to United. If there was City or Liverpool, they would. They would absolutely. They would absolutely. They just would. They'd come in and they'd say, okay, we want Mbumo for 55 million, and boom, that was it. And they would just do it. So, oh man. Brian will be, well, and that's the alternative, is that then you decide whether you're going to turn away and such. But this is years of shit. Yeah, ironically, just pay us is what got exactly. And so it's like, it is a rock and a hard place, and it bothers me. But it's like, I know they made it easy to get rid of their captain, to get rid of their manager, to do all that, but man, it bothers me. But like, I also understand it. This is when I say, look, like there is years and years of shit that leads up to the point where we're at. You know what I mean? Years and years and years of shit that gets us to this stage. You know, it's like so many of the problems we're dealing with are years and years and years and in making, and in the making, and that's the unfortunate of it. I mean, get more views if you use a pirate voice, and that would be fun. So the team was in place at the start of summer. Yeah, the main team is in place. It's an ever improving situation, but the main team was in place at the start of summer, and they have a clear plan for the summer as well. But like the head of like that whole recruitment thing, why it's reported today, I don't really know. I don't really care. That's been an ongoing overhaul of improvement from where it was to where they want it to be ideally in the end for a year. Like it's been ongoing, so I don't think it's a big deal for it. I don't know why it needs to be like a sudden big report or something like that they're hiring. Maybe that's just when someone finds out about it, I guess. But it's all been in progress for a while. I suppose. What happens when you're banned? You have to pay more. I know. And look, it's like if you want me to be negative, you can go watch the week leading up to and the day after the you can go watch the lead up to and the day after and the night after the Europa final if you want negative me. Because I spent that whole week and the night after saying, look, I know what a loss in the Europa means for us. It means we're going to have to commit to this slow grinding process of getting back to where we need to be. So if you want negativity, you could go back and watch there. There's a point where after that, you just accept it. That's where I ended up. I just accepted it. Got it. That's where we are. That's what's happening. That's what we're going to be. That's the reality of our situation. It sucks. It's shit. Don't like it. And that's where we are. And then, from there, it's different. It's different. I called it the Yokeris Cup. Yeah, I did. I said like we could have if we had gotten that money, if we had been in that place, that would have been a boost to speed things up. Otherwise, we just knew it's going to take years to climb back up. I've said that quite a few times, that plan A is like get top 8. That's like plan A. And then, the extra money would have just been enabled us to do more of our plan quicker. It was an opportunity, but we didn't take it. We lost. It was a bailout. Like we had a chance at a bailout and we lost. We didn't get it. We were the failing banks and we did not get the stimulus. We did not get the bailout. And so we just have to accept the slow road to it. Like, honestly, if you were to say, like, right, exactly, Saminx. Like, without Europe, next year isn't great. But if we do get Europe, then it starts to get really good. But if we don't, again, then we're in trouble. And that's why we can't afford to just blow every dollar we have, because we could literally be in massive, massive trouble. But it's kind of like, look, so how do we build up correctly? Because we have two routes that we could go. If we'd won the Europa League, where would we be now? We'd have Gyökeres, Cunha, and at least one more in the door. We'd probably have Gyökeres, Cunha, and Mbeumo in the door, quite honestly. I would strongly bet we'd have all three because we'd have the money. And then we'd be sell to buy after that. But like there's two routes we can go now, right? And it's kind of not totally clear which route to go. We have one game a week. We have an easier schedule in that respect. we have to focus on the Premier League and get us into Europe, right? That's what we have to do. There's two routes you can go with the money right now, right? We could take the money and say, all right, instead of Mbumo, we buy a few young players with potential and play the long game. The problem is that we have both, because United is so big, because United is such a big club, because United has the finances if they get into Europe, and because of all the cuts and the shit that has happened, if you can get back into Europe, then immediately you're in very good shape. So this is kind of the problem here. Winning the FA Cup should also count. Yeah, that's true. We could win the FA Cup as well. Yeah, we could win the FA Cup. That would be a good one, a good route in. But that was something to focus on for sure. If we buy young players with potential, we're probably not going to get back into Europe anytime soon. That would be the commitment to just taking it slow, really slow. But then you're losing players like Bruno. They obviously made a decision by not forcing Bruno out and saying you must be sold, that they believe we can be back into Europe next season. Okay? That's the belief that they have. That's the route that they chose. Okay. We can be back into Europe next season. We don't need to sell Bruno. We can be back into Europe next season. So what to do then? We need to get a couple top signings. Wood and Mbumo and Cunha in a 1 day a week thing, 1 game a week, I should say, be enough to get us back into Europe, to get us into the top 6, 7. I actually would say 7, or to win a cup. Truthfully, I think so, personally, because I think that this isn't a new opinion. This isn't transfer window cope or anything like that. I said all year in the beginning, towards the last 3-4 months of the year, that my view on it is we can't score goals. And we cannot score goals. If we cannot score goals, it is the biggest problem. It is bigger than everything else going on. We have to. We just can't score goals. We weren't even that bad, but we cannot score goals. Because I see a Cunha, Xerxes, and Mbumo front three with Ahmad, with Dorgu, with Bruno as 30 more goals in a season than we scored. Maybe 20. Even if we got 20 more goals than last season with Mbumo and Cunha, which I think is very reasonable when you consider who they're replacing, that we will get into those positions. I don't think we were that bad towards the end, but we were so bad up front that it cost us. For example, you look at the Spurs final, right? 73% possession, something like that. But we could have spent a million years attacking that box and not scoring, right? But if you replace Højlund and Garnacho with Cunha and Mbumo, I bet you we win that game. In fact, I'm positive we win that game. Because we could have. It would have been very different. You look at Villa on the final day, smashed them, destroyed them, even before the red card. But before the red card, we were still struggling to put the ball in the net with the two guys up front. We've played against big teams and beat them. We really were not. We won. We got all the way to the Europa League final. We were not that bad towards the back half of the season when you actually measure the performances and where we were. We just couldn't score goals. For the majority of the games, we were losing 1 goal. Look at the Wolves game that we lost. We were smashing them. Chances, 3, 4, 5 chances that we didn't put in the net, and then they score one shot on target. And we had 2 games like that towards the end of the season. One shot on target, and they score. We can't do it. We can't score those goals. Those are the small games I'm talking about. Those ones. That happened multiple times. We were losing the small games to one shot on target. Literally one shot on target because we just can't score goals. So no, I think that Cunha and Mbeumo move us well up the table. Nottingham Forest, yeah. Forest was like that. Wolves was like that. Spurs was like that. One shot on target. All 3 of those games, one shot on target from the opposition. They score. All the shots we have, we don't score. You know what I mean? And that's crazy. If we get 2 of the best goal scorers in the league in Cunha and Mbeumo, then I think we'd do it significantly better than we were last year. Significantly better just on those 2 alone, especially when it's 1 game a week. 1 game a week that we're not having to rotate. We're not playing, even weaker teams at side, less risk of injury, things like that. A lot of different things change with, 1 day a week on that front. Fewer games, fewer minutes, fewer injuries, lots of stuff is different with 1 game a week. So they obviously made the decision. We don't have to throw this all away, because if we sell Bruno, we're committing to a full rebuild, but we don't have a ton of money. We'd rather keep Bruno, spend what we can to get back into Europe, and then spend what we can to get back into Europe, and then we can go further and take the next steps there. So the obvious thing was get Premier League proven players who we know will add goals to the team, who we know will convert to the team, and that will get us where we need to be. Additionally, I would say, obviously, again, we've got it. There's an expectation, which there should be, that players we have will improve. Again, over the course of the season, Lenny Yoro got better, Xerxes got better, Mount managed to walk onto the pitch. He scored a couple of goals. I'm not. That one's mostly a joke. Aiden Heaven made an appearance, started playing, got injured, and got better. Most of the players improved. I think Dorgu, we've looked at the highlights of Dorgu, and it's funny. If there was any decent attackers in that team, Dorgu probably has 5+ assists when you look at it. So there's obviously an expectation that the players would improve. But if they just fucking scored a couple of goals, Cunha and Mbeumo, then we'd be higher up the table. We would. We'd be significantly up the table, and nobody else improved. We would still be much higher up the table, but other people will have to improve as well. So that's kind of the logic of the whole thing. It's not a given we improve, then it's all pointless. Like I said, it's all pointless. If we cannot improve the players that we have, then it is a pointless exercise. But I think we will, because I think we started to see players improve. And sure, it's a healthy dose of positivity that really bothers people for whatever reason, but we did see players improve. I mean, we did see players improve as we went further on in the year. There's no doubt about that. We did. And I think those players will continue. Most of the players we signed started to improve more as the season went on. That's for sure. So, yeah, I mean, Maguire, Xerxes, Lenny, Dorgu, I would say. Ahmad got injured, but he improved. And then when he came back, he was good again. Heaven. Mazraoui didn't, but he was certainly burnt out as hell. So Yeah, Mazraoui didn't, but he was burnt out. Certainly, no doubt about that. So, but a lot of players improved. A lot of players improved. Yeah, yeah. Mazraoui was definitely burnt out. I mean, Amram acknowledged that on a number of occasions that he was burnt out. So, Hoyland and Unana were the ones who fell off a cliff, and then Garnacho could not finish a single chance at all for most of the year. His conversion rate was unbelievably poor. Yeah, well, we need to get John Victor in. Don't get me wrong on that. We have to get a keeper in. Inexcusable if we just go in with Onana and Bayendir again. That I will not forgive that. We have to get a keeper in. We have to. We have to have somebody that we can play or rotate Onana with. We have to. There is no choice in the matter. It has to be done. We have got to get a keeper. So, don't get me wrong on this. Like, I still have my demands on things. I still have my demands on what is necessary. I still have my demands on what is necessary, but we need a keeper really bad. We need to get a keeper in. It doesn't have to be a superstar. It doesn't have to be amazing. Like I say, a veteran with safe hands, someone like that, totally fine. Totally fine. I will not forgive that. That to me is an unacceptable thing. We have to get a keeper in. We've been looking all year. We have to get a keeper in. But I understand why they don't want to spend a ton of money on it, because we have to get attackers as well. So, like, look, the unforgivables, we need 2 attackers and a keeper. Like, that's anything less than that is a total failure. 2 really good attackers and a keeper. Anything less than that is an absolute failure. Anything more than that is good. Anything more than that, to me, gets us closer to where we want to be. But it isn't a 1-year thing. And I think again that's the this is the point of building like a solid long-term plan, is that we can afford to go a little bit smaller this year. We can afford to go a little bit smaller this year in terms of our overall squad, right? We don't have to sign 8 players this year. We don't have to sign 8 players this year. We don't. It's unnecessary, and we're not going to. We need to sign enough for the 1 game a week that we're going to play that are really good. And then we can build on that and take it even further. Didn't they say Sancho has agreed? The Juventus and Sancho thing, like I said, it is complicated because it's mostly because of the word agreed in there. Like, because in football, technically an agreement, like a bid, is a bid. It's an official offer. An agreement is an agreement. It's an actual agreement. There's a general term of agreement, which is like you had a discussion with them and said, all right, that's what we'll have to pay you if you want to get this deal done. Cool. Fair enough. They've not agreed to pay Sancho anything, and they've not agreed to pay us anything. But they do know what they will have to pay Sancho, and they do know what they'd have to pay us to make a deal. And that they have not agreed to do that as of yet. So it's like, when's an agreement? When's an offer? When's a bid? It's just football language. It can be a bit confusing, irritating in that respect. But yeah. I mean, when we went into the summer, I thought we would get 2 forwards.
Calm
Bruno would play
down.
up front.
Everything's okay.
If Brentford continue to mess around, Rodrigo?
If Brentford continue to mess around Rodrigo, I don't think we should go for Rodrigo, and I don't think we will, to be honest. I don't think we will. I don't think we will. Yeah, I don't think we will. I think it would be even more complicated. Big wages, stuff like that. I didn't say there was bids on the table. I said offers. Romano said there's no club-to-club negotiations because there's no official bid, and that is totally correct. There was no bid. A bid is a contractually obligated offer. on, I'll find it for you. Here, ready? I'll just give you an example of why this language gets irritating. Okay. Here, ready? Here's Fabrizio's own words. All right. This is his article. Ready? This was 8 days ago. Oh fuck. It didn't work. Where is it? Look. Man United offered. so they made an offer. Right? Initial talks took place with some clubs. First it was Napoli, blah blah blah. Then there's Fenerbahce. Juventus make contact to sign Sancho. Okay. Juventus had 2 direct contacts to be informed on the Jadon Sancho situation. Okay. Have already spoken to the player's camp. So he's not saying this is not about the player. This is between Juventus and United that they've had contact. And then it says United offered Juventus trio in exchange for Sancho. It's Give Me Sport, but this is Romano. This is job. He writes articles for them. Juventus has opened doors to some players potentially involved in the swap deal. So my point is it's semantics, right? There's several scenarios on the table.
Calm down. Everything's okay.
Didn't proceed with any advanced contact at this stage.
Bruno
so
in the midfield
again, my point is,
he is not
and again, the issue is the whole salary. No issues on the transfer fee. Look, no issues on the transfer fee. That's Fabrizio's own words. He says no issues on the transfer fee. Okay. So they know the fee that they need to pay for United. The transfer fee is not the problem. It's how much they're going to have to pay the wages to Sancho. They're not happy with that, and so they haven't agreed to do the deal yet. So I'm happy with my reporting on this. Okay? This is his own article that says all of this. Okay? It's semantics, what he said. There's been no bid. Totally correct. But there have absolutely been club-to-club discussions, talks, offers, all sorts of shit that's gone through on that side of it. All right? So just, calm down, right? Why is Emran prioritizing Bruno in the midfield double pivot? He's not positionally disciplined. He's very erratic. He isn't Rodri, Neves, Vitinha. I don't know. I was surprised by it too, to be quite honest. But when he picked it in the final, I thought it was a mistake. I think it proved to be a bit of a mistake. But there's obviously something that he thinks, and I don't know the answer to it. And we'll see. We'll see how it works. I have my doubts on it. I've always had my doubts on it. The midfield to me was I think certainly he's better as a 10 than a midfielder. But he made that choice. And we'll see how it plays out. But I have the same concerns as you, so don't worry about it. I do totally. Because this is what I was looking at. I'm shocked Juve are about to give us that level of money for Sancho straight up. McTominay was a much more valuable player. Yeah, well, I know. Well, that's why it was interesting. So anyway, this is what I'm looking at. All right, this is all I'm trying to say here is like if we do get in, when I say is Mbumo and Cunha a better team? Do they bring us up the table? Do they do all of that? Do they improve us, significantly? What's the strategy? So when they kept Bruno, obviously the strategy was to look at it and say, all right, we feel we can build a team that gets back into Europe. Look, if you look at this unit of players, let's keep adding some good players in here. Oh, I might have these ones backwards. Maybe you do Heaven, maybe you do Mazraoui. I don't know. I think it'll be Maguire in the center to start the year, but we'll see. If you look at all of this, you go, that's a hell of a lot of good players. And if you actually compare it to who would we competing for like 7th? I don't know. Villa, Tottenham. It's a team that should get there. It should, right? It's a team that should get into those positions. If you go position by position and look at it, it should get there. They have this guy? Jean Victor? Probably not. One? On Stone? Yeah, switch these around. So that's why, like, I get the decision making is that at the very least, if we can make sure we get 2 players over the line, again, I have to get Mbumo done, all right? He wants more pace up front. Yeah, you're right. He would like to have a different striker. But if let's say we couldn't get a striker, would Amorim adjust? Yes. He did it at Sporting as well. In his first full season, played with Paulinho, more of a false 9. I don't think it's as ideal, but it's better. I think he will decide that it's better to have Xerxes on the pitch than Rasmus. John Victor thing is legit. It is. The interest is legit. So yeah, I mean, like it's a better team. You know, you might flip it. You know, I'm not saying that Mbumo is your striker, but he may be your outlet ball with Xerxes and Cunha dropping in. You know, Mbumo may be your outlet ball, even if in a way that Garnacho was too, running the channels. You know what I'm saying? Like Garnacho ran the channels okay, right? So you'd probably just have it be a bit fluid where, you know, you'd want Xerxes, the one thing he offers that Højlund doesn't, even as a 9, is an outlet ball to win the ball against center backs, where you can pass from the goalkeeper to the striker and he actually wins those balls, or the ball comes from, you know, the wing backs or the left center back to Xerxes and he actually wins those duels. So he's not perfect as a channel runner, but that he actually offers you quite well. He's as a number 9, he's quite good actually. His back to goal game is great. He has certain aspects that was really good. So then you can run Mbumo as a runner, you know, into the channels and things like that, and be flexible. Because look, at the end of the day, the system needs 2 people to drop in and 1 to run the channels. It doesn't totally matter which you choose, you know, but ideally you want to feel fluid. Mbumo's a bit too small because you're not winning those balls down into the midfield with Mbumo there, but you will with Xerxes. So if you can, you just have to be able to mix it up. And so, no, it's not ideal, but it's still much better footballers. It's still much better footballers. So would we be a lot better with Cunha and Mbumo? For sure. This is a team, and look, you still have, to me, decent players around here to come in. Yeah, like we have to get a signing. There's no doubt about it. Like Cunha alone, you know, we're in trouble because then you got to move Ahmad, or you move Bruno, and you play Casemiro in the middle, which, by the way, wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. But this lacks pace. This lacks directness. This lacks certain aspects. I think this is 2 similar players in Bruno and Cunha trying to do the same job. And I think that's also why potentially you want to put Bruno in the midfield behind Cunha. Because if you put them both at 10s, I think one of them gets extra neutered in a respect. Cunha probably has more pace these days, which is better. So no, we've got to get that done. But then you do get into Europe, then you can add 3-4 players on it. And here's the good part. These guys, like, who would be here next year? Like, let's say you only signed 2 players. Who would still be here next season as the starters? Very likely Mbumo, very likely Cunha. From my money, Dorgu. They believe Bruno is good enough to be that guy for a few years. That's why they kept him. Ahmad, Yoro, Heaven. So what are you talking about replacing next year? If you only signed 2 players, you would still need these guys. A new central center back, a new midfielder, and a new striker. But you can get them. You can get them. You are not signing guys who are going to decline in 1 year. Look at the ages of these guys. 27, 22, 19, 19, 23, 25, and we have Leon. Yes, correct. And Bruno's the oldest, right? So and I'm assuming we buy a keeper this year too, by the way, for what it's worth. I like I said, I'm assuming we still do get a keeper of some sorts. So you need to sort this out because maybe unless Ugarte kicks on heavily, you probably still need a 6. But you've made good additions that are going to be here for 5 years, right? You've made good additions that are going to be here for 5 years. Maguire, it's not that he's terrible, but he's old. He's old. The same 3 positions we need to buy every summer. Well, no, we needed 10s and wingbacks and fullbacks like for the last 2 summers that we haven't gotten. So no, but look, that's the nature of football. You do have to sign players every year. Like, it's not that unusual to say you're going to have to sign midfielders. We should sign midfielders every year. We haven't signed midfielders every year. We should. We should sign midfielders every year. We should sign center backs every year. And we should sign, like, it's not a weird thing to say you should sign a forward, a midfielder, and a center back every single year. Why wouldn't you? You have to freshen the squad. You have to replace the squad. You have to sign players all the time. So players age, players get worse, players get worse, players get better, players age, players leave, contracts end. You're always refreshing the team. So, yeah, we've signed strikers. We didn't, we signed strikers the last 2 summers. It just didn't work out the way that we would love it to. But signing more players for your spine every year is very normal. That's what you're supposed to do. I mean, Liverpool are signing another attacker, another striker, another midfielder. Like, they've done it every year, the same thing. It's pretty normal. So if we get these 2 next year, what would we need? What if we get just these 2 and we do get back into Europe? What do we need? A center back that's probably 40, 50 million for a good one. Another midfielder, 40, 50 million, 60 million. And the top striker, that might be 60 to 80 million. Well, you could do that if we're back in Europe. And we're not going to have to replace these guys. Then what happens the next summer, right? That's why it's a 3-year plan. Then you look at the next summer and you go, wait, hold on a second. We don't need that many players. We're not desperate if we buy right and they work out. But, anyway, it's just, obviously all the plans have to work, best laid plans and all of that. But this is just the truth of where we are. It's not like in an ideal world, we sign a striker, we sign Mbumo, we get to the midfield, we get to the center back, and we get to a goalkeeper. But we can't without sales. We need a lot of sales to do that. Will we get those sales? Maybe, maybe not. Remains to be seen. It remains to be seen. There's a reality of that, of where we need to be. I mean, you still have Mazraoui, Lissandro coming back, Delict. Like, it's not like you don't have options here that could come in on the back that are good options too. You know what I mean? But it's like, again, there's a difference here. All I'm talking about is the reality of where we are. And I'm not talking about like what I wish could happen. I'm talking about the reality of where we are. I don't love all of it, but there's also just what is the truth. They can't do much more. But yeah, there's good options off the bench. Delict, Mazraoui, Lissandro, Casemiro, or Ugarte, Kabi Menu, Mason Mount, Leon, Dallo. There's a lot of decent players, in my opinion, that make for a decent bench option. So, yeah. But look, we obviously have to get the things done. I mean, nobody's changing that. I didn't say there's no striker coming. I just said, the plan that was decided upon was make sure we get proven Premier League talent that as close to guarantees, because people just hate when you say guarantees, even though it is practically a guarantee, that guarantees improvement. When you go that route, you know you're getting fewer players. That's the choice that was made essentially when we kept Bruno. That we are going to go for Premier League proven players that can almost guarantee it and guarantee what they offer, guarantee what they bring to the table, and then and you get fewer. We could go the other route. We could have gone the other route. We could have bought Dorgelis and who's some other young players? I mean, God, the fees out these days are insane, but for like practically everybody. But we could be going for Hackney. I still would like Hackney, but Hackney, Dorgelis, Stack, all sorts of things. We could have done it differently. But the decision was made, buy fewer, but buy players that are almost guaranteed hits. Clearly, that was the decision that was made. And I get it. I mean, I think it's a safer route. I think it's a more guaranteed route to get back into Europe and have more financials. At the same time, buy some young players too. If we get Europe next year, yeah. If we get Europe next year, the money looks very, very good. The money looks very good if we get Europe next year. I think that's why that's the decision, or that's why that's the priority. A good decision, but I'm worried who the striker will be. Yeah, we've got a weaker squad than Spurs. I don't really agree with it, but that's fine. Spurs are also have to play in multiple competitions now. They got themselves Champions League. Good for them. So they have to play in multiple competitions as well. My point is we had Xerxes and Rasmus. I know, but goals is a team effort. Like, look, I did a video talking about our front three, how many goals they scored. Okay? You know how many they... Wait, here, I'm going to try to find it. Hold on. Give me a second. I'm going to show you the numbers on this, all right? Because I think that it's like... Holy shit. Hold on. Where is it? You're going to make me pull up a PowerPoint. Isn't that insane? That was best squad. Where did I do it? I don't remember what video it was in. Oh, you know what's funny though? Like, I'll tell you what's funny. All right, for people who say like I'm changing the goalposts and things like that. Check this out. I did this video in April. No, you son of a biscuit. I did this video in April. Okay. It's the wrong one. Hold on. Give me pull up PowerPoint. No, where are you? Oh. Sons of biscuits. Sons of biscuits. There you go. I did this video in April and I said this is a realistic lineup. Look who's in it. and tell me that I've dropped the standards. I was looking at Delap, Dibbling, Trafford. As what we could do without Europe. You understand that? This was what I said we would be able to do without Europe all the way back then. So when I say, hey, Cunha and Mbumo is better than what I thought we would do, it's a lot better than what I thought we would do. Like, because I figured we would be able to do not that much. It was just an example, all right? It's just an example. But so no, don't tell me I'm moving the goalposts on what I thought we'd be able to do. This is what I thought we'd be able to do without Europe. So Mbumo and Cunha in here is fucking miles better than that. Okay? That's the reality of it. I don't care if you didn't like it. That's the point. That's the point. The Mbumo and Cunha is actually a hell of a lot better than what I assumed we would be able to do. So am I happy? Well, if we have to get Mbumo done. Am I happy? No. Because I would have loved to if we had been able to go for like Aussie Man and shit like that. But it's better than Dibbling and Delap and Trafford. I mean, I would still take Trafford, but it's better. It's better. It's better. You know? Here, I found it. Okay. I'm going to show you an insane stat now, okay? You ready? Nope. Hold on. This is what I wanted to show you. And this is why I say, like, yeah, fine. I want a striker. Don't get me wrong. But here's the other insane stat, all right? Cunha and Leon is not miles better, but Cunha and Mbumo is certainly better. Trafford to Old Trafford would be epic, yeah. Like, take a look. The 3 relegation sides have scored the fewest goals, blah, 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 blah. We had 11 Premier League goals from our front 3 at that point in time. From the people who had played in the front 3 the most minutes. Okay? This is the comparison. We were second worst in the entire league. Cunha and Mbumo alone, removed penalties, scored 31. Okay? So we had the second worst. However, only 4 clubs scored more via the rest of their squad. Okay? Via the rest of their squad. United had the 5th best goal scoring record from the non-front 3. Isn't that insane with how few goals we scored in general? Our front 3 was so bad. We scored like 17th most goals while the rest of our team actually scored the 5th most goals. Because most of your goals come from the front 3, right? That's obvious. That's pretty blatantly clear. So, hey, look at the names I put. Hold on here. I had better names on this one. I said we needed here. Oh my god. See, people always accuse me of shit. This window must bring in at least 2 proven goal scorers. I said 2. We must get 2 to support the side, and I had Cunha and Mbumo here as 2 of our options alongside the Lap and others. And I said we should be able to cash in on any forward not named Ahmad. Okay, so I've been extremely consistent. I've made these videos since April. Been very consistent on my beliefs. Okay, if we look at the table in general and you add the goals, even if we don't get a ton out of all right, even if we don't get a ton, out of the striker, if it's Xerxes, for example, then 30 goals, 34 goals between Xerxes, Cunha, and Mbumo with no penalties is 23 more than we had last season. Now, it doesn't 100% translate one-to-one. I'm not stupid. I do understand that. But if we went from 44 and just added 20 goals, that takes us from 44 to, look at 58 got 6th last year. So this is what we need. We need to be if we were in the low 60s, we'd be okay. We just need to be in the low 60s. So 17 to 20 more goals. So I would 100%. We need to get a striker as well. A 3 is better than 2. We should get a striker too. I really want a striker. All of that. But adding Cunha and Mbumo alone will lift us up the table to and it's not just the goals. I mean, there's just significantly fucking better footballers in every phase of the game. But on the goals basis alone, they'll lift us. And that's why they chose that route. They chose the route of let's get guys who are proven, who will bring goals to the team that we can near guarantee, and we'll do better. And we'll do significantly better than we did before. That was the choice that they made. So getting 20 more goals into the team alone will probably push us into the top 8. Like, our goal scoring was just fucking that bad from the front 3 and not from the rest of the team. The rest of the teams, look at the Europa campaign. We had goals from Bruno, Casemiro, Maguire, Dallo, Ugarte. Scored more goals than our front line. Like, there was a point where the last 12 goals we scored in Europe, the only player in the forward line who scored any goals was Xerxes, and he scored 2. And that was when we were heading towards the final, from what I recall. It was all from the midfield defenders and fullbacks who were scoring goals to get us to the Europa final. It's nuts. But that's also a positive, which is if you just fucking add 20, 25 goals to the team, then even fixing 2 of the 3 is massively improved. It's frustrating. So that's why I am where I am. I've said what I've said. I know what I know. I know where my takes are. They haven't changed. Those are my views. That's why I have some positivity. We've got to get Mbumo done. We have to get that second forward in. Have to. We just have to. Yeah, Mount and Mainu as well. Yep. We have to get that second forward in. And of course it should be Mbumo. We've got to get it in. Then it'll be about sales, and the sales are going to just take some time. Maybe we can get that late move for striker. I hope so. Maybe hopefully not too late. Hopefully it's not that long, but yeah. How is Emram Garda players looking so lean? Well, that was the other thing, and I was saying there's been disagreements over in different things in terms of fitness regime, food, how players should look, where they should be, all sorts of shit. We started to see towards the end of the season, players return from injury a lot quicker, right? They started to return from injury a bit quicker. We started to kind of see, hey, wait, hang on a second. Everybody's kind of coming back quicker. Everybody's a little fitter. Everybody's a little bit healthier. What's going on with that? And then you see the players return from training, and there's no summer 15. There's no summer fat on them. They are fucking skinny, lean muscle machines. Even Casemiro, who usually, puffs up like a Cheeto on summer, heads off to Disney World and enjoys in the snacks, looks damn good to return. And I'm like, okay, hold on a second. What's going on here? There is a difference. There is a difference in their physical profiles and, all sorts of stuff going into it. And that is an important thing too, because we've been one of the least fit teams in the league for a few years. We need to be really, really fucking fit now. We gotta be. I mean, that's just one simple aspect. The aspect of can we outrun, outfight, outwork teams on the pitch? That's why I like that has to happen. We have to do that. That alone is an improvement that we have to have. So hopefully we do. Casimir looked like, I know he looked like he was wearing like an abs suit compared to what he's looked like in some of the recent years. You know, you get that picture of him on the plane beforehand and he's like, he looks like me, you know? And now, you know, he looks like me 10 years ago. We're the same age. No, I'm just kidding. So yeah. Anyway. Anyway, those are my thoughts. So those are my yaps. I said I was going to be short. Now I've been yapping for an hour and 10 minutes, and I shouldn't be. I got to get off of here and go do shit. But yeah, I just wanted to clarify on the Sancho thing and kind of show that there's been club to club talks. There's been offers put forward, just not official bids. Juventus understand the conditions of it. The transfer fee is not the problem. They know what they need to do there to pay. The Sancho thing, they're not going to pay his full wages. They're not intending to pay his full wages. They know what it would take and what would on the balance of everything, but they haven't decided whether to do it or not. If they decide to do it, we'll see if they decide to go negotiate more or something like that, but they have to make that decision. I wouldn't say they're thrilled about it. They're looking to see if they can get a better deal on Conceição. On Mbumo, it was hearing kind of a little later, but we'll see. We'll see. We need some help from him. Hopefully tomorrow, Friday, he comes back, meets with Brentford, and something goes forward, pushes through on that. Because we need some help to stabilize this deal, because the things have moved on this, and it's been a moving target that is hard to meet given the financial difficulties United have. The director of recruitment shit, it's good. It's actually good news, funnily enough, but it's been an ongoing thing. It's not like all of a sudden we didn't know we need a director and now we do. It's been an ongoing resolution. And remember, a bunch of staff didn't leave until after July. The only thing I've kept hearing on Mbumo is it's not dead. Okay, like in explicit terms that it's not off, and that we need some help on the deal from potentially his side. But then the director thing, that's not like a suddenly they realized it. They've been doing this evolution of it. It's a person to work below Vivel, not above, below Vivel, to help to organize. And that has more to do with the long term. We have somebody. His name is Steve Brown. Steve Brown is doing the job. It's not like we don't have someone. We need to replace Steve Brown. Steve Brown is the guy who was organizing a lot of the recruitment, contacting agents, doing all of that. Steve Brown exists. He's leaving. We need to replace him. So it's not like we went into this window with nobody. Steve Brown was there. He was working. He was contacting players, contacting agents, doing that job. So it wasn't like we just, oh shit, we're just getting a new person for this new recruitment across the board. We're just getting another new person in for the future, and Steve Brown will be leaving. Similar to how we need a new academy director for Nick Cox. That doesn't mean the academy is not being run and the job isn't being done, right? That's not what it means. It's just, yeah, he left at the end of June, right? So a lot of people left at the end of July. That position has more to do with the preparation for summer. He was there, he was active, he was involved through that whole period of contacting, doing all of that work. So it's not like we just didn't do it. This job is one that is usually done in preparation for summers, not the guy midsummer making negotiations and things like that. So it's not that big of a deal there. We've had somebody in there until, 9 days ago, 10 days ago, whatever. So we're looking to replace Steve Brown. I don't know who with. Basically. And their role will be slightly adjusted now that we have Vivel and the whole team in place. The stadium, obviously, it's a big step forward what they're actually doing, having Lordco, whatever the hell his name is, being there to potentially have the authority to force a sale of the railway so that we have the land for the stadium. That seems meaningful. So obviously they are moving ahead on this. It continues to be a significant topic, even though it's slow. It's political and all the sorts of shit that goes into it is definitely complicated. The goalkeeper thing and John Victor is genuine. But yeah, look, we certainly need some progress. We certainly need some progress. Would you hire someone familiar with it? Well, I would think you got to hire somebody that they know will be good. You know what I mean? Only could force Brentford to sell. I know. Where's our football council that we can get an in with that forces clubs to sell players to us at fees that are acceptable instead of being ridiculous? Where's that? But anyway, yeah. If you want me to be negative, I'm not gonna be negative. I'm not gonna be negative. I got that all out of my system around the Europa final. To me, that was the rocket ride. That was the bailout. That was where I thought, hey, we could speed this whole process up significantly. When we didn't get it, I was devastated. I mean, people will remember if you'd actually watched the videos I did before and after, how negative I was about our circumstances at that time. I mean, I woke up at 4 a.m. and did a video because I couldn't sleep. That was just like, because I was so concerned about what would happen. There is a plan, but the reality is there's only so much that you can do without that money. And that's I was negative, but I'm not a person who can stay negative. I can accept where things are once I get to that point. And then from there, if I feel that the plan to get out of it is a good one, then I know, then I'll accept it. Then I'm happy with it. That plan may not be perfect. That plan may not be everything. You know what I mean? It might not. But it may be the reality of what you are, the reality of where you are. It's like the plan can't, you can make whatever, there's plans that are delusion. And I think people want to live in a delusion land of where we are, that, in all of this. But I will tell you what, if we do somehow manage to get a good offer for Garnacho, get Sancho sold and get Anthony sold, you'll find me in delusion land about what we can do with the rest of the window. Because the amount of money that would save us and bring in, you will find me saying striker, midfielder, we're getting Watkins, we're getting a top midfielder, we're getting all of these players, and it's happening. You will find me in delusion land at that point in time, because then it'll become possible, and then I will push for what is possible. I think we do need to get better at selling some of these players, but obviously the caveat to that is they didn't sign these guys. The insane contracts, insane fees that they paid out have been worse and worse. Juve have to pay 30 million before 15 July for Conceição. So yeah, it's an interesting one. They're trying to get a better deal on. So yeah, find me in delusion land if we actually get an offer for Garnacho. But I've accepted the reality of it. I told you that selling Garnacho was not going to be easy. And he's going to have to accept. There's a story about Napoli. I don't give a shit of what Napoli want. Will Garnacho accept a move outside of England? Will Garnacho accept a move outside of England? That's what I need to know. That's reality. We have to know that first, because he didn't want to. He turned down Leverkusen. Is the Napoli interest real? I don't know. I mean, it coming from the Mirror in the UK instead of from somewhere else is a bit, to me. We'll see. But that's a problem. Will Barcelona actually make that offer for Rashford? I don't know. Hopefully Chelsea use the Madueke money on Garnacho. Maybe they will. I do think it's funny. Madueke for 50 million. I like Madueke. I like Madueke a lot. People really didn't like my opinions on Madueke when I said he was better than Garnacho, that he's a good player. Apparently, I'm not the only one who thinks so. I like Madueke. But yeah, hopefully Villa or somebody comes in. So if you find me selling players, find me. If you find me at a position where we've sold players and we're actually getting offers for these guys coming in, then you will find me saying, we got to reinvest that, and we can go make deals. We get 40, 50 million for Garnacho. I'm the first person who's going to say we should have a striker in tomorrow. And we need to move fast. And you can hold me to that. That's fine. I think I just have a better handle on where we actually are. And I've accepted it. We do need to get Impuma over the line. Hopefully he can push. Hopefully it keeps things steady. And yeah, we'll go from there. Okay. All right, guys. See you later. Love you. Just kidding. Don't love all of you. Some of you, maybe. No, I appreciate you all. Thanks for hanging out this evening. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. All of the best. I will see you all tomorrow. I'm not sure what I'll be doing tomorrow in terms of content. It is a birthday for a family member. I might be busy with that. But we'll see. I'll see what I can get done. All right.